The T-72B3 is the newest top-tier Soviet tank. Being a direct modernisation of the T-72B already found in game, this new variant comes with all the things you love about the Soviet top-tier tanks. Good frontal armour, a consistent autoloader, and high-pen APF SDS rounds just to name a few. But on top of this, you get a powerful new engine, second generation thermal imaging, and the incredibly effective relic explosive reactive armour. Alright lads, today I'm going to be talking about the performance, weapons and playstyle of the T-72B3. Starting as always with the basics, this tank is a rank 7 battle rating 10.7 medium tank, located in the Soviet tech tree. Being a rank 7, it will only be effective at researching the vehicles between the ranks of 6 and 7. To unlock the tank, you will first have to grind out 390,000 RP points before purchasing the vehicle for 1,020,000 silver lions. After purchasing the tank, you'll have to pay an additional 290,000 silver lions to add this tank to your lineup. After the tank is in your lineup, you can then additionally choose whether to purchase the expert or race qualifications for this tank, costing 1,020,000 silver lions or 2,100 golden eagles respectively. Surprisingly, for a battle rating 10.7 vehicle, the T-72B3 enjoys a very low repair cost of 6,787 silver lions when fully upgraded. Practically half of the T-80U's 12,789 silver lion repair cost. This makes the T-72B3 a very affordable tank to play. Going on to the rewards, the tank has a base RP modifier of 2.32, which gives you an RP modifier of 232% with a free-to-play account and 464% with a premium account. With a base silver lion modifier of 1.5, you have a higher silver lion modifier than any top-tier premium tank. You can expect a 150% silver lion modifier with a free-to-play account and 225% with a premium account. So is this tank worth the mammoth grind, and the even bigger stock Heat FS grind? If you'd like to know the answer to those questions, then stick around for the rest of the video. Okay, so moving on to the engine and performance. You can see that the T-72B3 is powered by the V92S2F engine, producing 1,130 horsepower. Combined with the vehicle's weight of 47 tons, this engine gives the tank a power-to-weight ratio of 24 horsepower per ton. While not as good as the T-80U's 27.1 horsepower per ton, the T-72B3 still feels incredibly nippy on the battlefield. If we move to the transmission, you can see that we have a great top speed of 60 km per hour, but in reverse speed, we only have a tragic 4.2 km per hour. And to be honest, this is one of my biggest gripes with the vehicle. The terrible reverse speed of 4.2 km per hour means it's very hard to retreat out of a difficult situation. Okay, so you join me here in a test drive, and as you'd expect in a Soviet vehicle, this tank is incapable of neutral steering, meaning it cannot turn on the spot, something which will be a hindrance in tight urban combat. Moving on to acceleration, and as you can see, the T-72B3 certainly does get off the line with some speed, going from 0 to 40 in around 5 seconds. While this tank is unable to reach its top speed of 60 km per hour in rough terrain, it can still reach a respectable 50 km per hour. To conclude, I'm very happy with the mobility of the T-72B3. While the reverse speed is a letdown, it is something I've come to expect with Soviet top tier tanks, and something I was forced to get used to by playing the British tanks. While the mobility certainly isn't as good as the T-80U's, it's not far behind. Okay, so moving on to the armour protection of this vehicle, and the first thing I want to note is that this tank only has a crew of 3 men, meaning if you lose 2 crew members, your tank will be instantly killed. If we move to the side profile of the tank, you can see that the commander and the gunner are sat next to each other in the turret basket. This means any round fired into the side of your tank is likely going to knock both of them out, rendering you instantly killed. Even in a rare case where a round fired into your side misses your commander and gunner, it is still going to hit your ammo rack, again instantly killing you. So remembering the T-72B3, just like all the other top tier Soviet tanks, front towards the enemy. Luckily for you however, when it comes to frontal armour protection, the T-72B3 is certainly packing. As you can see in this X-ray, the upper frontal plate as well as the turret face consists of layered composite armour, with ERA blocks placed on top for additional protection. The explosive reactive armour mounted on your upper frontal plate and turret front is the Contec 5 system, producing 120mm of protection against APF SDS rounds and 400mm protection against Heat FS rounds. We also have explosive reactive armour on the side of this tank. This is the modern Relic system, and you can see that we have 2 layers, an angled layer and a flat layer. The angled layer gives us 20mm of protection against APF SDS rounds and 600mm against Heat FS rounds, whereas the second flat layer gives us 200mm against APF SDS rounds and 600mm against Heat FS rounds. And finally at the rear of the vehicle, we have this slatted caged armour. In real life, this was for protection against RPGs, but in game, serves no real defence against heat-or-fast rounds, and instead, will only really protect you from high explosive rounds. Okay, so moving on to the actual armour protection of this vehicle, and to test this, we'll be using the CL3143 round fired by the Italian tanks, the strongest APF SDS round in the game. Starting as always with the lower frontal plate, you can see that we have around 200mm worth of protection, and as we move to the upper frontal plate, in its thickest spots, it provides us around 640mm of protection. Like the T-72, you do have a very large weak spot in the form of the driver's port located here, providing only around 120mm of protection. Moving up to the turret, you can see that we still retain the great turret armour found on most of the Soviet top tier tanks, with the exception of the gun mantlet and the flattest part of the turret located here and here. But even here, you can see that we still have excess of 450mm of armour protection, and the previously mentioned Contact 5 DRA blocks will give you additional protection against heat-or-fast rounds. As we go to the side of the tank, you can see that the T-72B3 has substantially more side armour than most of the Soviet top tier tanks. While the T-80U only has around 80mm of effective protection, the T-72B3 has around 200mm. This is due to the previously mentioned relic armour protection system. While 180mm of side armour won't stop most modern APF SDS rounds, as we'll see later, it will play havoc against heat-or-fast rounds. Moving up to the turret, you can see that we have around 500mm of protection, which slowly drops down as we approach the rear of the turret, all the way down to around 120mm. Finally, the rear of the vehicle provides around 55mm of protection, whereas the rear of the turret provides around 150mm. Okay, so we just tested the tank using the highest penning APF SDS round in the game, so what about heat-or-fast? Well, as you can see, our protection against chemical weapons is very substantial. The lower frontal plate once again is a vulnerability, but your upper frontal plate is immune, apart from the driver's hatch. Again, moving up to the turret, you can see that we are completely immune from heat-or-fast rounds, apart from the gun mantlet area. If we go to the side of the vehicle, which provided only 200mm against APF SDS rounds, you can see that it skyrockets up to around 670mm against chemical rounds. And in some places, it approaches 800mm of protection against heat-or-fast rounds. Overall, the armour protection that the T-72B3 provides is exceptional, and apart from the lower frontal plate, it fully matches the armour protection provided by the T-80U. While the T-72B3 and the T-80U are pretty similar when it comes to armour frontal protection, the T-72B3 completely blows the T-80U out the water when it comes to side protection. Because of this, I am very confident in saying that the T-72B3 is the most well protected Soviet main battle tank. Okay, so moving on to the armament of the vehicle, you can see that the T-72B's main weapon is a 2A46M M5 cannon. This is an upgraded version of the gun found on the T-80U, T-72B and the T-80B. In real life, this upgraded gun can fire a new type of ammunition, however this has not been modelled in War Thunder. Like the other Soviet MBTs, this gun is fully stabilised, in both the horizontal and vertical planes. However, unfortunately, like the other MBTs, you retain the awful gun characteristics, with only 13 degrees of gun elevation and an appalling 6 degrees of gun depression. You can carry 45 rounds in total, with 22 of those rounds being classed as first stage ammunition stored in your ammo carousel. The reason this tank uses a carousel is of course because it is auto-loaded, giving the tank the standard Soviet reload rate of 7.1 seconds. Jumping to the weapon reloading skill under the tank loader, you can see that this skill is basically useless because of the presence of the auto-loader. You have the same 7.17 second reload, regardless of your reload crew skill. Moving to the targeting skill in the gunner section, you see that the tank has a base turret rotation speed of 24 degrees per second, with a top turret rotation speed of 35 degrees per second. While not as good as some of the NATO main battle tanks, this is still incredibly fast, and will allow you to react quickly to enemies surrounding on your flanks. Here in the modifications, I want to know that this tank does receive a laser rangefinder, as well as second generation thermal optics. Moving to the ammunition, and you can see that we have 5 choices available, 2 of which are classed as stock shells. Your main stock shell is the 3BK18M. This is a heat-or-fast round with 550mm of penetration. It has a respectable muzzle velocity of 905 meters per second. However, you all know how painful it is using heat-or-fast at top tier, and I'll be honest with you lads, it is a grind. Your second stock round is the 3OF26 meme round. This is a pure high explosive round containing the TNT equivalent of 5.24 kilograms, which gives it a TNT penetration of 42mm. While you can one-shot main battle tanks with this round, it is very hard to use, especially when an opponent is moving, mainly due to its low muzzle velocity of 850 meters per second. Thankfully with the T-72B3, you do get an APF SDS round as a rank 1 modification. This is a 3BM22 round. It has a very high muzzle velocity of 1760 meters per second and can penetrate 425mm of flat armour. However, its performance against angled armour is very weak. As you can see, against a 60-degree target, its penetration drops from 425 down to 193. The fourth round you unlock is the 9M119M1 tandem charge warhead. This can penetrate 850mm of armour, and with its tandem charge warhead, essentially ignores explosive reactive armour on enemy tanks. While this missile is very powerful against conventional armour, there are very few tanks at battle rating 10.7 which still use explosive reactive armour. Most NATO main battle tanks use composite armour, where your tandem charge warhead will have very little effect. Your fifth and final round is the 3BM42. This has a very high muzzle velocity of 1700 meters per second, an incredibly high penetration of 479mm against a flat target. And even against angled targets, it still does very well. Against targets angled at 60 degrees, it can still penetrate 250mm, a 25% increase over the 3BM22 round. While this round is powerful, it is the same round found on all the other Soviet top tier main battle tanks, so the firepower of the T-72B is essentially the same as the other Soviet tanks. Okay, so you join me here in a realistic battle test drive. The first thing I want to point out is that you get amazing optics with this tank. As you can see, we have a very wide field of view and a very high zoom level. I also mentioned that the T-72B3 gets second generation thermal imaging, and as you can see, it is incredibly effective at determining targets on the battlefield. The thermal optics, in combination with your great field of view, make scanning for targets incredibly easy, and give you a great sense of awareness on the battlefield. So you join me now in a simulator battle test drive. It's worth pointing out that the main optics of this tank are located above and to the left of the main gun. This means at close range you will have to alter your aim for precise shots. For example, if we put our aiming reticle on the turret ring of the Abrams, and then go into our gunner's view, you see that we're actually aiming at his turret cheeks, not his turret ring. So at close range, remember to aim to the above and to the left of a target you want to hit. Overall, the firepower that the T-72B3 offers is essentially the same as all the other Soviet top tier tanks. While the addition of the tandem charge warhead missile is a nice touch, I still don't see a reason to use it over the 3MB42 round, as there aren't many NATO main battle tanks that use ERA blocks. While by no means is the firepower of this tank bad, it just doesn't offer really anything new compared to the other Soviet main battle tanks. I hope you've enjoyed this little overview. We're going to go on to some gameplay, followed by a conclusion. Hello, it's me. Goodbye. Oh, okay, rip. Holy shit, I didn't see those twats. Okay, well, that's not good. At all. Not epic in the slightest. Especially considering our big oh well, thank you. Why is that leopard shitting himself? Okay, well let's just wait here because he's gonna have to come up. What is he doing? Okay, well, don't know what he was doing. I'm just gonna pretend that was some fancy kill. Like, you're dead impressed by that, guys. Oh, you got lucky there. I don't think that was a guy that shot me, but oh, who the fuck is shooting me? Can't see. Don't you dare go in front of me. Oh, what a retard. What? See, like, what a stupid twat. See, let me do it, I'll get it done. I do like it, it's just, for me at the minute, it's not as Oh. Well, there's our 5th kill, ace, I think. It's just not as a... Well, compared to the T-80U, it's slower, but I think it's got slightly better armour. I think it's got the same gun. It does get access to that missile, which is a tandem warhead, I believe. But when are you ever going to really use that? I think I'd much rather have the T-80U's reverse speed rather than this. What? Well, hi, Mr. Leo. Can't do anything to hurt you. I think you can hurt me, though. Shall we go for it? Oh, get wrecked. We're going to survive it. Oh, Russian bias comrades. Tovarish Ivan sent prayer. Oh, he took off my Relic 5. Yeah, that's real life, guys. Do you not know that I play Wolfen because it's more realistic? Come on, boys. Uh-oh. Rest in peace. Why on earth did he take that out as his first spawn? Okay, well there's a Leo gone. Still an M1A2 here though, I think. In a straight line, brilliant. But when you're trying to, like, twist and delicately make your way through. Hey, hey, hey. Oof. How was that a non-pen? Right, well, he's gone. That was very lucky. I heard him shooting at the last second. Oh my god! How the shit did that not cold break the TAM? Oh! Well, I'm just gonna run away. Oof. Rest in peace, M1A1. Oh. Ooh. Oh, I see you, little bastard. Well, if he wants to kill me, he's going to have to make a move up towards me. I'm going to ping in chat that I need some help. Don't think I'm going to get it though, because this is War Thunder and teamwork doesn't exist anymore. Okay, so he gave up. Oh shit. I hope that's... Oh well, bye bye ADATs. To conclude, the T-72B3 is a great addition to the Soviet top-tier lineup. The great gun, forward mobility, and high-resolution thermal imaging really does make this tank a strong candidate for the best tank in the Soviet tech tree. But is it worth grinding if you already have the T-80U? Well, I'd say yes. While the firepower of both tanks is practically the same, the main difference is that the T-80U gets better mobility, whereas the T-72B3 gets better quality of life upgrades, such as the second generation thermals, as well as the enhanced side protection. So my advice would be to use either vehicle depending on the situation or map. On a tight city map, the T-80 will probably be a better choice, but on a bigger open map with lots of defensive positions, the T-72B3 may be the better defensive tank. Personally, the T-80 would still be my first pick on pretty much every map, mainly due to the better mobility, as well as the increased reverse speed. But seeing as both vehicles are in the Soviet tech tree, I can take both of them into a battle, and decide which one I want to take out first, depending on the map or game mode. As always lads, I hope you found this video helpful, and thank you very much for watching.